and the Carnival Hybrid SX trim level is the answer to the question that's been asked so many times on this channel. What can I do if I want all of the bells and whistles, but I need to keep 8 seats? Up until the 2026 model year, there was no option other than to sacrifice on lesser options, like not your favorite tech, not your favorite technology, or to go all the way up to the top of the line model and lose out on one very special seat. So in today's video, it's not going to be our typical in-depth walkthrough. Instead, I'm going to be showing you everything that comes standard on the SX model, what's changed, and show you some of my favorite things about the Carnival SX. So, shall we get right into it? I think so. I have no one here filming with me today, so I'm going to be talking a lot to myself and hopefully able to answer some of your questions as well too. So if you are watching this live, be sure to use the chat box to let me know if there's anything you'd like to get covered before the video ends. Let's get into it. So I'll first start off with what makes the Hybrid so special. The Hybrid was released for the 2025 model year, same size, same shape as the standard V6 Carnival, except under the hood, we got a smaller engine and an electric motor, of course. I'm going to start off by popping the hood to talk to you guys about what has changed. And again, pardon me, because I am doing this on my own, there might be some awkward camera angles. All trim levels of the Hybrid will have the same 1.6-liter turbocharged inline-4 gasoline engine. Now that seems like a pretty small engine for such a large vehicle, and believe me, I thought the exact same until we've actually had one at our dealership for quite a while now, and we've used it for test drives. We've loaded up our Carnival full of our sales staff, which, if you didn't know, they're kind of big guys, and still have gotten amazing fuel efficiency with no sluggish feel. You get 242 horsepower with 270 pound-feet of torque thanks to this powertrain. Tied to it is a 6-speed regular style automatic transmission with paddle shifters. The paddle shifters are actually multi-purpose on this vehicle, and I will explain that once we hop in. Take a quick look at the wheels before we take a look at the front end of the vehicle. Now the wheel design is shared with the SX Plus model, so it's a 19-inch all gloss black alloy with an all-season tire. It's a Goodyear Assurance tire, in case you guys were wondering. Once we take a look at the front end, you'll notice a lot of the styling cues are the same from the V6 model. So when you hop over to the SX or SX Plus, everything takes a dark twist with a lot of gunmetal finish. Surrounding your grille, you'll notice there's a slight bit of sheen, but it's not a true chrome. So it's a nice blacked out or gunmetaled out chrome. The center inserts is where you'll find the true chrome pieces, and then in the very center, we have a quick look at our forward-facing camera. Lower on the front end, you'll notice we also have our radar plate. So this will be our sensor, flipping the camera, for a lot of our safety functions. So things like our smart cruise control, which of course will slow you down and bring you to complete stop if you hit stop and go traffic, but also our highway drive assist level 2. Essentially, this vehicle will be able to monitor its speed, make sure it changes due to traffic conditions, and even do its own lane changes for you, as long as you indicate them. So lots of great advanced technology available in the SX model. There we go. Sorry, I had some problems flipping the camera. Towards the sides, you'll notice we do have side parking sensors. That is one of the advancements on the SX model, as well as the forward-facing camera, a full 360 view, and of course, those black accents I was talking about earlier. Your headlamps are full LEDs with an amber daytime running light and a very cool modern style. I always like to joke around, I'm definitely not in the market for a van, but if I was, it would certainly be this, because this is not a van for a regular mom. This is a cool mom van. It seriously looks like an SUV, but then you see those sliding doors and think, wow, okay, this is a van I could actually drive. On the topic of more cool styling points, we do have more of that gunmetal finish for our mirror cap, and then along the bottom, gloss black. There's also LED turn signal indicators and a blind view monitoring camera. That'll be the same on both mirrors. I know some manufacturers only do it on one side. Integrated into the mirror, we also have our blind view attention. So that'll of course illuminate if there's a vehicle in your left or right blind spot. And then all of the pillars and pretty much belt line of the vehicle will be finished in gloss black. This piece here in our previous model Carnivals was always shown in a bright silver. However, now on our SX and SX Plus, this also gets the gunmetal twist, so making it look a little less hearsey. That's what I like to say. Then if you're wondering about the paint color, this is a new paint option called ceramic silver. It looks like wolf gray, but let's get a closer look with the flash on and hopefully you can see that there are some metallic elements inside the paint. So it is not a primer-esque paint that we see on things like wolf gray or ghost gray. This is truly a metallic that gives you that modern flair of the wolf gray. So yeah, someone just said, wow, wolf gray. It's not wolf gray, it's different. I thought so too when I first saw the vehicle, but then when you see it in the sunlight, it definitely has more definition thanks to the metallic. All right, I'm gonna open the door real quick, and I promise I will show you guys the interior, just not as in-depth as we typically do, because it is very hard to do by myself. It's not that easy to show you guys the true dimensions, but just know the interior is where the SX model really shines. It gives you all the tech, all the comfort, and all the safety of the top-of-the-line SX Plus, except we keep a seat in the very middle. Another great thing about having the seats in the middle or having the 8-seat configuration is the fact that you can remove all 3 of these seats. So if you just need the back of your van for maximum storage, you can actually take them out completely, where in the SX Plus, those seats are fixed. You cannot remove them. So that might be a huge deal breaker or game changer, depending on who you are. So it's so great to have the option now. The rear end of the Carnival is also extremely stylish, lots of bold, sharp lines. So you notice our horizontal LED taillights that just turned off, and then come downwards, nice, sharp, and bold. We've got rear parking sensors with blacked out Carnival emblems, and our Kia emblem also has the all black look. Another nice thing I love about the Carnival is just how clean the styling elements are. So while it does look very good, it's not overdone. They've even made tasteful things or tasteful swaps on the vehicle, like hiding the rear wiper underneath the spoiler here, which really, you don't notice how good or how much it changes a vehicle until you see it done. Now you'll look at vehicles, especially when you're behind them in traffic, and think, oh, they could have totally hidden the wiper. Seriously guys, it makes a difference. Also in our spoiler, we have a rear camera that is not your backup camera. It's actually for your blind view monitor. Sorry, not blind view monitor, rear view monitor. The fuel tank size is a 72-liter tank, so about the same size as the V6 model, except you will go further on the same amount of fuel in the hybrid, of course. That's, of course, what's going to make a hybrid truly special. This vehicle has about 6.9 liters per 100 kilometers as its rating in the city, while the gas model, the V6 model, is at 13 liters per 100 kilometers. So again, that's almost double. Is that double? I can't do quick maths right now. All right, you guys, so huge fuel efficiency difference. Another thing that will be very, very different on this vehicle is you'll notice at very low speeds or at stops, so think idling, waiting in traffic, this vehicle will actually sit in EV mode, so it won't waste a drop of gas because your electric motor's kicked in. Vehicle is in full EV. Those are all situations where a typical gas model would just be consuming fuel for, again, no travel. Once we hop in, you'll see a very high-tech cabin with all the comfort features you could really think of. Your front driver and passenger seats are, of course, going to be heated and ventilated with an abundance of power controls. So we got our height adjustment for the seat, our backrest, and then 4-way lumbar support. On the door, you'll notice we have a little bit of ambient lighting as well as the inclusion of a memory driver's seat. The interior has a beautiful two-tone look to it. Even if you don't opt for a two-tone, it still has a mix of materials which really open up the space and give it a very luxe feel. Everything's also in a soft touch material with nice quilting, a little bit of gloss black, but not in the crazy high touch areas. For your window controls, we have express up and down windows for all 4 of them and your window locks. I'm going to quickly point out the sound system. It is a Bose premium sound system expanding all the way to the back of the vehicle. And I promise you guys I will show the cargo area. Sorry, just a little scatterbrained. And let's turn on the car. So I'm just going to wake up the electronic system, so we're not going to fully start the vehicle. That's why there will be warning lights on the dash. You get a full 12.3-inch display digital gauge cluster that will always show you your speedometer and your tachometer. However, you can cycle the views using this button over here. So I can see my current trip. If I choose to see my navigation, that is also available, as well as your lane safety systems. And again, right back to our trip. You can go and change different views, see your engine temperature, as well as your tire pressure. There's also this idle mode function, which essentially shows what the vehicle is doing right now. So if the vehicle were mostly running its gasoline engine, I would get an indicator showcasing the front part of the vehicle where the end is located, illuminated. This will also show the power going directly into the battery versus if my vehicle was running on EV mode, it'll show power from my battery going towards the wheels. Does it make sense in video? Maybe not, but we have done videos explaining the vehicle while it's in motion and you can really see the diagram change. Another huge tech advancement of the SX model is the inclusion of a heads-up display. I know it's a must-have for a lot of drivers. If you're not a fan of it but you like all the rest of the tech in this vehicle, you can also opt to turn it off. So do not worry, it is not always there if you don't want it. Another thing that is new for this vehicle is a digital rear view mirror. So check this out. No matter how I move my mirror, the image will stay the same because it's from the camera at the back of the car. I can change the height as well as the brightness, and if I'm not a fan of it at all, I can flip this back and it's just a regular mirror. So you get the best of both worlds, but this is fantastic if you do have a car full of passengers and their heads are typically in the way of your normal mirror operation. Super high def, you get up to 6 lanes worth of footage. You can see right over there. You can seriously tell what kind of car all of those vehicles are. So super handy to have. Now your main screen over here is another 12.3-inch display, except this will be your touchscreen. Typical touchscreen, we've explained this function so many times, but in case you guys want a quick rundown, you got your in-house navigation, your media controls, which also means we get standard Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, completely wireless. Slide over, and then I can make some more nitty-gritty changes. Now a couple things that are exclusive to this model, or I guess start on this model and above, will be the passenger view camera, which allows me to watch what's happening in the back. So if I were to stick my arm back there, I can see, and I can also zoom in. And this will also change to a black and white camera or night vision camera come nighttime or just dark conditions. There's also the option to speak to your rear passengers, so a little bit of a vehicle intercom system. It'll pick up my voice from the front and project it to the speakers in the rear. Very handy if you have misbehaving children in your vehicle, or if you really just have to get your message across. All right, I'm going to flip the camera one more time and just give you a quick pan of where everything's laid out. Again, not too in-depth. We're not going to go over every button and dial in this car right now. You can see our gear shifter is a little bit different than the standard lever style. You got your reverse, neutral, and drive, of course. Buttons to control your heated seats, ventilated seats, and your heated steering wheel. And I'll quickly show you guys our full 360 view camera. So there's a camera mounted on the front grille, the rear end, and 2 cameras underneath our rear side mirrors. This will piece together the full 360 view, and we get quite a few different viewpoints too. So I can do this 360 where I slide around and see just where I'm parked. It looks a little crazy because my door is opened, but in the event that it was closed, it would look more normal. Now, if you are actively parking your vehicle, whether you're pulling into a spot or reversing, it'll show you the corresponding camera. You don't have to click your screen while you're already trying to park. The vehicle is smart enough to know what screen you want to look at. Now, let's talk about another big change. I remember when I first was selling cars and the Carnival came out. Not a passenger of mine. A customer of mine came in and they wanted to replace their Dodge Grand Caravan. They had 6 kids. 6 kids, husband and wife. Total 8 passenger family. They needed a vehicle that had 8 seats. So they were looking at the Carnival, they really loved it, but they wanted fully loaded. They did not want to miss out on any of the tech, any of the safety. They couldn't get a Carnival because the SX model only came with 7 seats at the time. If they knew about the Carnival now, I bet they'd be loving it. Should I call them up? Let me know. Now up at the top, here is where we get our dual pane sunroof. So the Carnival is actually one of our few vehicles, actually it's the only vehicle, that has a 2 sunroof option where both of the sunroofs actually open. What I mean by that is, well, why don't I just show you? If I go to open my front and rear, you'll notice it's not just the cover that opens, but it's actually the glass. I can stick my camera out of the sun's shade right now, and we're fully out there. The same is true back here. So again, not just the cover, it's also the glass. Really makes a difference, and that way your rear passengers also get a little bit of a outside light, photosynthesize if you will. Now let's quickly show the passenger seats, then we'll show the second in the rear, and then the cargo area along the back. Again, I'm a little bit all over the place today. It is hard on my own. I know, such a difficult job, you guys. Don't laugh at me. It is hard to focus on where the camera's pointing while I'm also trying to focus on what I'm going to talk about. Just have to get better at that, but bear with me, we'll get there, do not worry. All right, the 3 seats in the middle are all on a rail system, so you can move them as close or as far back from the front seats as you'd like. And the second seat, or the seat in the very middle, has a little bit of a more, it extends a little further is what I'm trying to say. It can also be knocked down completely if not in use, and used as a hardtop. So table situation, cup holders, phone slots, whatever you really need it for, there you go. In the very center of our front console, you'll notice we also have a household outlet and a 12-volt inverter with the inclusion of the cup holders for your 2 main seats. There's also USB-Cs built into the backs of these seats, as well as our leather pockets and a mesh net pocket. If you're wondering about climate control for your rear passengers, your vents are located on the roof. So great if you do have little ones in car seats, the airflow will actually go towards them and not the seat itself. And then here is where we'll find our camera, as well as a mic system, so your rear passengers can also speak to your vehicle. So things like changing the audio, don't worry, you guys can turn this off if you're not a fan of it, and of course the camera for the rear. Now in terms of climate control, if you want to allow your rear passengers to adjust it themselves, they have the option to control the temperature as well as the fan speed and the fan direction, but this can also be locked if you do not want your rear passengers to do those things. I know a lot of parents ask about that. Now I'm just going to quickly knock this seat forward to allow myself to show you guys the 3rd row. I'm not going to get into the 3rd row, so there won't be a height or legroom demonstration, but we have done that already on the channel if you'd like to see it. Here we are, so 3 seats. The one in the middle is of course going to be a little bit smaller, but we do not sacrifice in headroom. You can see there is no real convex on the back area here, so everything's pretty steady all across the car. Because this vehicle also is an all-wheel drive, we have a fairly flat floor, so you get quite a bit of room to extend your legs, and because the seats ahead are still on a rail system, if the person sitting in front of you likes you enough, they can give you a little bit more room and still have a ton to themselves. There's a little tab on the door, I think you guys can see right over there, that is to bring up or put down your sunshades, and we also have them for the very 3rd row windows. It's worth mentioning that the windows in the 3rd row are fairly large too, so that's one of my least favorite things about going on a road trip in a 3-row vehicle. A lot of times I'll be in the 3rd row and I feel like a prisoner. There's no light back there, there's no legroom back there. That's not the case in the Carnival. It is comfortable all around. All right, just a second to catch my breath and then I'll show you guys the cargo area. So far, what are we thinking? Do we like the SX model? Does it answer a problem for a lot of buyers? Were you considering a Carnival and just didn't like the fact that you couldn't get fully loaded with all the seats? Let me know in the comments. I'm just gonna see what you guys are saying so far. Michael also just walked in, so I'm making him actually come into the video.
Hey guys.
Bye, Michael.
Bye.
All right. Mr. Bourne said, I like an intercom. That's so cool. It brings me back to car phones from the 90s. Yeah, there you go. History repeats itself. Nike just asked, is this V6? No, this is a 1.6 liter turbocharged 4-cylinder. So let me give you a quick breakdown of the powertrain differences between the V6 and this. So the V6 is a 3.5 liter. It has 200 and, sorry you guys, brain fart. It's got 46 more horsepower than this one. This one's got 242. The V6 also gives you great torque. It's the same at 270 with a towing capacity of 3,500 pounds. Now this vehicle will give you 242 horsepower with 270 pound-feet of torque with a 3,000 pound towing capacity, both of which only come as front-wheel drive, except here is the kicker. Fuel efficiency-wise, the hybrid will score you 6.9 liters per 100 kilometers in the city, where the V6 will score you 13. So that is quite the difference in the fuel efficiency department, or deficiency department if we're talking about the V6. That's not to say the V6 is bad. A lot of people that are shopping for a V6 minivan do know that it is going to consume a bit more fuel than your average compact sedan. So it's a trade-off some people are willing to do, some people are not. Now in terms of pricing, if you are looking for the hybrid SX, it is 55,445 Canadian, where the equivalent model with the V6 powertrain would be 52,845 Canadian. So a bit of a price difference there, of course, but you are getting hybrid technology with the Carnival hybrid. All right, let's show you guys the cargo space in the rear. Space-wise, we're going to be working with just about the same size space, so there's no real trade-off there. In terms of comfort access as well, we do have a power lift gate, of course, which can be controlled by hitting the button back here like I just did, or your Kia key fob, and there's also a button by the driver's steering area. You have a huge gully for if you'd like to put things like coolers, strollers, whatever it may be. There is tons of room here while keeping your seats upright. Should you choose to knock the seats down, they actually have a little step-by-step. It's not going to let me do it completely because I do have the mats down there, but I'll just show you guys. In the meantime, we'll pull it dip back, the seat will tip down, and then we'll give it a little bit of a push. Or a lot of a bit of a push because of the car mats down there. All right, you guys, now typically this would go down completely. Today's not the day. I do not have the arm strength or the mental capacity to film and take the mats out. Along back here, you'll see we got another household outlet, so 115 volt as well as a 12 volt right above, and LED lights in the rear. All right, so, I also just saw a question asked about the leg sensor underneath the vehicle. So Kia actually doesn't do that, and the reason for that is maybe this is not their true reason, but something I'm grateful for, is here in Canada, we have fairly icy and snowy winters. So one thing I think of that's a huge saving is if I don't have to kick underneath my car, I'm not putting myself at a risk of slipping and tripping underneath my vehicle. Instead, you simply walk up to the rear end of your vehicle with your key, stand there for about 3 seconds, the vehicle will beep 3 times, and then automatically open the lift gate. Could be 3 times or 5 times that it beeps. I forget the exacts, but it'll automatically open. If you don't want your lift gate to open, just step away from the car. It'll stop that sequence. All right, what is the combined horsepower and torque output of the hybrid powertrain across the different trims? So same, it doesn't matter if you're getting the entry model hybrid or the top model, it's 242 horsepower combined. That is thanks to your gas engine and your electric motor with 270 pound-feet of torque. All right, again, we tried and tested this thanks to our actual demo Carnival hybrid at the dealership. I think it was last week or the week before, we did a company field trip to K1 Speedway in Mississauga. So that's from Brantford to Mississauga. The vehicle is reading at, I believe, about 7.2 liters per 100 kilometers, and that was loaded up with our sales team, which are big, heavy dudes. So every seat in the house was filled, and it was still reading exceptionally well. That's highway driving. All right. A lot of nice comments. Thank you guys for watching. I know I'm like stressing myself out right now just on my own, but you guys are making me feel better, so thank you. I would love to see footage of that road trip. I don't think that'll ever see the light of day, but we should definitely do a Carnival long-term drive with our hybrid. And with that being said, if you guys are in Ontario and want to drive it for yourself, no pressure, come on down to Brantford Kia. We do have a hybrid LX Plus model. You can see it, and again, it just puts your mind at ease knowing that, yeah, it has a smaller powertrain, but it's amazing. It works. It just works. We had our doubts in the beginning, but after driving it and having it on our lot for quite a few months, we've really put it to use, and it's blown us away. So it's a vehicle that we certainly stand behind now, and honestly, I would take this over the V6 any day. Not that I have need for a van in my life, but if I did, it's a total great buy. Corvette Nut has asked, how's the Ford Stranger? Any upgrades? So no real upgrades, but I did put a bumper sticker on it. But I did replace the windshield yesterday. I got a giant rock, hit my windshield coming into work on Tuesday, and so that's been replaced. That's obviously not a mod, but a must-have. Yeah. All right, you guys, that's going to be it for today's video. If you'd like to see an in-depth walkthrough, please let us know. We're hoping to maybe do one on Monday, back with my girl Charlotte. Charlotte is okay, so thank you guys for asking. She does not work on Fridays, and today was just so busy, I had no one to help me. All right, in the meantime, take care, brush your hair, and we'll see you on Monday. Goodbye.